Sit down here. I'll tell you about a journey that not everyone has the courage to embark on. Giant squid fishing. Have you heard of it? It's not just a job, it's an art, a brain game between people and the sea. The giants of the ocean, they are not like ordinary creatures. Not everyone can conquer them. I have spent my life at sea, pursuing adventures hunting the greatest creatures this ocean has to offer. Giant squid fishing is one of the biggest challenges any fisherman can face. We not only rely on muscle strength, but also have to know how to read the sea's signals, learn to understand the water flow, and feel every smallest movement of the prey below. Each trip starts early when the sunrise has not yet illuminated the sea surface. We prepare carefully, little by little, from checking the boat, preparing fishing rods, choosing bait to preparing food and water for a journey that can last many days, even weeks. Giant squid are not always easy to find, and we needed to know what we were facing. Each wave, each breeze carries unique signs that only those who are experienced with the sea like us can recognize. Remember, patience is the key. We can wait for hours, days without seeing any signs. But once a squid is located, that's when the real battle begins. From the moment you release the bait, everything must be precise, every inch. We cast our baits deep into the sea, usually at depths of 100 to 300 meters where these giants like to hide. But that's just the beginning. The giant squid is very wise. It is not easily seduced. They can test the bait, biting lightly to test it before actually attacking. And when they bite, you will feel it immediately. The fishing line will begin to vibrate, feeling heavy in your hand. That's when both his dexterity and strength are put to the test. You can't rush it, because if you pull the string too hard, you'll lose the squid immediately. But if you are not fast and strong enough when given the chance, it will escape and leave you with empty hands. You know, my teammates and I once struggled with a giant squid for 6 hours. The fishing line was so tight that we thought it would break, and our hands were burned by the friction from the line. But in the end, we won and pulled it onto the boat. It was a moment of victory, of pride, and also a lesson in patience, ingenuity, and strength. But it's not just giant squid that brings dramatic battles at sea. Giant salmon is also an equally attractive challenge. Huge king salmon in the cold waters of Alaska or northern Europe can fight for hours. And to catch them, you need to prepare carefully, from choosing the right fishing rod, reel, to bait. The hunt for giant salmon begins with finding rivers, lakes, or seas with clean, cold water and full of fish food. Right time, right place. That is the deciding factor in the success of the trip. Salmon are very clever. They can fight fiercely when hooked, and if you are not careful, they can escape immediately. Controlling the fishing line, dropping the line when necessary, and pulling in when the opportunity arises. These are the techniques that every fisherman must master if they want to defeat the giant salmon. I remember one time in Alaska when we cast a net and pulled in a king salmon so large that the entire team had to work together to pull it onto the boat. That feeling, when the giant fish floats above the water, is incomparable. It's not just an individual victory, it's a team victory. We faced the sea, the big waves, the bitter cold, and that giant prey. And in the end, we won. To be successful on each trip, not only does it require strength and patience, but it also requires smooth coordination among team members. Each person has a separate task, from driving the boat, controlling the equipment, to casting bait and pulling the rope. No one can do it all alone. It is solidarity and mutual support that have helped us overcome the harshest challenges of the sea. And you know, on every trip, we not only share the joy of victory, but also learn from failures. Every mistake, every difficulty is a valuable lesson, helping us become better and stronger. It is the team spirit and professional pride that binds us together, and that is also the reason why I always return to the sea, always ready to face new challenges. Life at sea is not easy, but for those who have experienced it, who have felt the joy of victory, and who have faced difficulties, there is nothing comparable. And boy, if you're ready, if you want to challenge yourself, then join our team. The sea always welcomes those who dare to dream and are ready to face challenges. Do you want to know what it feels like to catch a giant squid for the first time? It was a calm sea night. The crescent moon hung, dim light shining on the water. The breeze blows gently, carrying the breath of the sea, whispering mysterious stories. The salty air of the ocean and the waves gently lapping against the side of the ship seemed to urge us to move forward. It was in those seemingly peaceful moments that I came face to face with the giant of the ocean. We were prepared in advance. Radars and GPS point to the deep sea where we believe the giant squid awaits. But no matter how modern the equipment is, catching giant squid is never easy. It requires more than tools. It requires feeling from the heart, from experiences gathered over many years. Giant squid are very wise species. They sense our presence from far away, but that doesn't scare them. On the contrary, they patiently waited, observing our every move. As we dropped the bait to a depth of about 200 meters where underwater lights flickered, I felt the tension in the air. Everyone was silent. No one said a word. There was only the gentle sound of waves and the hissing of the radar intermittently. We waited for hours. Time passed slowly, but no one took their eyes off the fishing line. Veteran fishermen like us know well that any moment can be a decisive moment. And then, it came. Just an initial, very small pull, enough to make the fishing line vibrate slightly. But in my heart, I knew it was a sign. The giant squid has become interested in our bait. As soon as I tightened my grip on the fishing rod, the feeling from the line passed through each finger like a powerful jerk. It's not just about pulling a small fish out of the water. No, not at all. He could feel the creature's power from beneath the ocean. Its tentacles clung tightly to the bait, and every time it pulled the rope, we seemed to be caught in a merciless battle. At that time, I didn't think much anymore. All the skills, everything I have learned from the sea over the years are put to use. Pull, release, pull, release. Every time the fishing line is so tight that it seems like it will break, I have to adjust the force, keeping it not too tight but not too loose either. The giant squid is an intelligent creature. It knows when to tug hard and when to relax. But I am no less observant. We confronted each other for more than 3 hours, under the dim moonlight, and in the quiet space of the night sea. And then, the moment every fisherman had been waiting for finally arrived. I see it. Under the water's surface, a giant black shadow slowly emerged. Its tentacles curled tightly around the bait, as if wanting to drag us to the bottom of the sea with it. But we do not give in. We used all our remaining strength to pull it onto the boat. When the giant squid finally lay down on the deck, I felt not only fatigue, but also boundless joy. That's not the feeling of just completing a task. That's the feeling of victory after a real fight. Giant squid did not surrender easily, but we won with strength, skill, and patience. But brothers, the sea brings more than just giant creatures like squid. Giant salmon, especially king salmon, also bring equally tough challenges. The cold rivers of Alaska, British Columbia, or even the European North Sea are ideal places to catch these fish. They swim upstream to reproduce, and that is an opportunity for fishermen like us. I remember one time we caught a king salmon so big that we had to work together to pull it up. Salmon are not only strong, but they also know how to fight. Just when he thought he had the situation under control, they would suddenly yank on the line, trying to get off the hook. At times like that, you must always stay calm and control the pull of the rope. If the string is too tight, it will break. If the line is too loose, the fish will escape. It is a delicate battle that only those who are patient and skillful can win. Trout are often attracted to live bait, but sometimes they prefer brightly colored artificial baits. It is important for you to understand the behavior of this fish, know when is the best time to fish, and know how to choose the right bait. Every trip is a new challenge, and no two trips are the same. Sometimes we had to wait hours, even days, to catch a salmon. But when that moment came, when he felt the strength from the fishing line passing through his hands, all the fatigue disappeared. I still clearly remember the moment when the giant salmon emerged from the water, its scales sparkling in the morning sunlight. It was a moment of victory, and also the end of a challenging journey. Every trip is an adventure, and every giant salmon or squid we catch is the result of our tireless efforts. But no one can do it alone. Team spirit, support, and experience sharing are important factors in every trip. We learn from each other, overcome difficulties together, and share the joy of victory together. That's what keeps me coming back to the sea, always ready to face new challenges. So, if you want to test yourself, if you want to feel the joy of conquering the ocean, join our team. The ocean always welcomes those who are willing to venture forth, and you will never know what lies ahead until you actually experience it. Remember, every trip out to sea is a mental and physical test. Not everyone has the courage to stand in front of the ocean, facing big waves and giant creatures underneath. But those who have overcome it, those who have experienced the tense moments of pulling the fishing line when facing the terrible power of giant squid or king salmon, will never forget it. That feeling. There is one thing I want to share with you, and this is a lesson I have learned after many years at sea. Fishing or squid fishing is not just one person's job. It's the combination of the whole team. Each person on the team has a unique role, and when we work together, no challenge is too big. I have seen many teams fail, not because they lacked skills or equipment, but because they lacked cohesion. They don't trust each other and don't know how to work together. And the sea, with all its power, will not spare those who lack solidarity. During the recent trip to catch giant squid, we had a lifelong lesson about this. It was on a moonless night. The sea was as black as ink. The only sound was the howling wind and the sound of waves lapping against the ship's hull. We've been away from shore for more than a week, but there's still no sign of squid. Some of the brothers began to feel discouraged, worried that this trip would be a failure. But I know well, giant squid never appear easily. We must wait, be patient, and trust in the signs the sea brings. As the night progressed, we discovered a suspicious spot on the radar, a place of deep water, where we had previously heard many stories about the giants of the ocean. I decided to drop the bait here. The bait was carefully prepared, and we dropped it to a depth of about 250 meters. The brothers began to feel nervous. No one said a word. Everyone was tensely watching the fishing line. As the night progressed, we discovered a suspicious spot on the radar, a place of deep water, where we had previously heard many stories about the giants of the ocean. I decided to drop the bait here. The bait was carefully prepared, and we dropped it to a depth of about 250 meters. The brothers began to feel nervous. No one said a word. Everyone was tensely watching the fishing line. When the giant squid begins to attack the bait, the fishing line becomes dangerously tight. Everyone immediately took their positions, each with a task. Experienced fishermen like us know that we cannot rush in this situation. We must stay calm and coordinate smoothly. One small mistake could cause us to lose the squid, and could even endanger ourselves. The giant squid is not only strong, but also very dangerous. With its long tentacles and strong suction cup, it can easily pull a person into the water if not careful. After more than 3 hours of struggling with the squid, I felt fatigue spread throughout my body. But no one stopped. We know that if we let go now, all efforts will be in vain. It is a battle of mind and body. And then, the most memorable moment of my life came. The giant squid slowly floated above the water under the dim light of the ship's headlights. Its tentacles curled tightly around its prey, and its massive body glistened in the light. We won. Brothers, that feeling when we pulled the squid onto the boat, nothing can compare. It is not only the joy of catching large prey, but the pride of the whole team, as we have overcome the biggest challenge the sea has to offer. Everyone had an important role to play in this victory, and it was our unity that helped us succeed. After pulling the squid onto the boat, we sat together and shared stories and valuable lessons that this trip brought. Every sailing trip is a new adventure with its own challenges and difficulties. But the most important thing is that we always learn from each other, always know how to overcome all challenges together. The following days, we continued our journey. And not only giant squid, but also king salmon are waiting for us ahead. Salmon, with its large body and extraordinary strength, is always a challenge for any fisherman. We're prepared with powerful rods, durable reels, and the brightest lures. Did you know? Catching a king salmon is not just a matter of technique. It was a real battle of wits. Salmon are very wise and extremely strong. Once they take the bait, they will do everything they can to escape the hook. And if you're not fast enough, strong enough, and patient enough, you'll lose it. I have seen many fishermen fail just because they were too hasty or too subjective. My salmon hunting trip in Alaska was one of my most memorable experiences. When we cast our nets in a large river, the water was clear and cold. The salmon swim upstream, preparing for their spawning journey. We waited in silence, watching every movement of the water, and then the first king salmon took the bait. The fishing line stretched immediately, and we had to use all our skills to control the situation. Salmon are very strong. They swim upstream at extremely fast speeds. But we are ready. Every twitch of the fish is a challenge, but we don't let it win. After more than 2 hours of struggling, we pulled the fish ashore. It was a wonderful moment, seeing it float above the water, its body sparkling in the sunlight. The whole team burst into joy of victory. But not every trip ends with victory. There were trips where we returned empty-handed, but that was not a failure. Every time we set sail, every time we face the sea, we learn valuable lessons. And it is those lessons that help us become stronger, more patient, and wiser. Brothers, if there is one thing I want to convey to you, it is, never give up your dream of conquering the sea. The sea always welcomes those who dare to dream and dare to face challenges. There is nothing more precious than standing on the deck, breathing in the fresh sea air, and feeling every twitch of the fishing line as the giant prey bites the bait. So prepare mentally and physically. Practice your skills and learn from those who have gone before. And most importantly, always know that nothing is impossible, as long as you have enough patience and determination. The sea is always full of mysteries and challenges waiting for us ahead. Finally, I just want to say, life at sea is not always easy. There are times when we have to face big storms with fierce waves. But if you have enough courage to face those challenges, if you know how to unite and work with teammates, the sea will always bring you worthy rewards. Remember this, there is nothing more precious than conquering a giant creature of the deep. And once you do that, you will never forget that feeling. If you have had similar experiences, please leave a comment to share with me and everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to discover more fascinating stories from the sea together. Let's create a community of people who love the sea, dare to dream, and are not afraid of challenges.